I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but here I am, pouring my heart out to a faceless audience. My name is Kyle, and I was married to a woman named Jenna for 6 years. We had what I thought was a solid relationship, great chemistry, shared interests, and a cute little house in a quiet neighborhood. At least, that's what I believed until everything came crashing down. Looking back, I realized there were warning signs I should have picked up on. Jenna had always been a bit of a drama queen, but over the past few months, her behavior had grown increasingly erratic. She started going out more often, claiming she needed girl time with her friends. I didn't think much of it at first. I encouraged her to nurture those friendships, even if it meant spending weekends apart. I assumed it would help keep our relationship fresh. But as weeks turned into months, I noticed subtle changes. She became more secretive with her phone, often texting with the screen facing down. Sometimes she would receive calls that she'd hastily step out to take, her eyes darting nervously. When she was home, she would often seem distant, lost in thought, and I could feel a wall building between us. It was like I was living with a mystery that I couldn't solve. The day I discovered the affair was like something out of a bad movie. It was a Wednesday evening and I was out running errands. When I returned home, I parked my truck and noticed something odd. Jenna's car was in the driveway, but she wasn't home. My gut twisted. She was supposed to be at her friend's house. I walked inside and everything seemed normal at first, until I noticed her phone sitting on the kitchen counter, buzzing incessantly. Out of curiosity, I picked it up. It wasn't the mindset of a jealous husband. It was a moment of weakness and confusion. I glanced at the screen and saw a message that made my heart drop. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll bring the wine." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Who was she seeing? My heart raced as I opened the messaging app. Scrolling through the conversation, I found it, text after text between Jenna and a guy named Rick, her dog trainer. They had been exchanging flirty messages, planning secret meetups. I couldn't believe it. She was cheating on me with a dog trainer, of all people. In that moment, all the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The late nights, the secretive behavior, it all made sense. I was filled with a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. I needed to confront her, but I didn't want to do it without concrete evidence. So I decided to wait for her to come home, my heart thumping in my chest, plotting how I would handle this situation. When Jenna finally walked through the door, she looked surprised to see me. Her smile quickly faded when she noticed the tense atmosphere. "Hey, Kyle, you're home early," she said, feigning innocence. I couldn't hold back. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but low. The look of confusion on her face was almost infuriating. She tried to shift the conversation, but I wouldn't let her. "I know about Rick," I said, the words tumbling out like a confession. Her face went pale, and for a split second I saw genuine fear in her eyes. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but I wasn't falling for it. I recounted the messages, my voice rising. "You can't lie to me anymore, Jenna. I saw everything." She looked cornered and her defenses went up. "Kyle, it's not what you think. We're just friends. You're being paranoid." Her words felt like daggers, each one twisting deeper. Paranoid. I was heartbroken, not paranoid. "Friends don't text that way," I shot back, and her excuses spiraled out of control. "He helps me with the dogs and we just connected, but it's not serious." I wanted to scream. How could she minimize what she'd done? I had trusted her, loved her unconditionally, and this was the outcome. Betrayal stung deeper than I could articulate, and I felt completely lost. I was a man standing in a storm, and all I could think was how to navigate through the chaos. As the evening wore on, I wavered between anger and sadness. I couldn't wrap my head around how someone could betray me like this. I had faced challenges before in life, but nothing prepared me for the gut-wrenching pain of infidelity. I felt like my heart had been ripped out, and I was left with nothing but an empty shell of what used to be my life, our life. What would I do now? I couldn't just let this slide. I needed a plan, something to hold onto amid this whirlwind of emotions. And that's when I started thinking about revenge. Not just to punish her for what she had done, but to take back some control over my life. I didn't want to be that guy who wallowed in despair. I wanted her to feel the void she had created. I wanted to ensure that whatever spark she had with Rick would burn out quickly. I was barely holding it together, and the more I thought about it, the clearer my path became. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my dignity. I deserved better than what she had done to me, and I'd make sure she faced the consequences of her actions. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. After that night, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, peering into an abyss. The confrontation had left my heart heavy and my mind racing. Jenna was a skilled liar. She had spun her web so tightly that I almost questioned my own sanity. But I was determined to peel back the layers of deception she had constructed around her affair. Days passed, and Jenna acted like nothing had happened. She'd come home with her usual fake smiles and excuses, as if I hadn't just exposed the truth of her betrayal. I could see the guilt flickering in her eyes sometimes, but she was too wrapped up in self-preservation to show it fully. I knew that she still had contact with Rick, and that gnawed at me. I had to act decisively. I began to map out my revenge, and with each passing day, my plan crystallized. I needed to bring Rick down, not just because he was the other man, but because he had disrupted my life and made a mockery of my love for Jenna. I did some digging and discovered that Rick owned a small dog training business. It wasn't a big operation, but it was his pride and joy. I figured that if I could take that away from him, it would send a message both to him and Jenna. I started reaching out to a few of my friends who had pets trained by Rick. I told them about the affair and how I couldn't support a business that was run by an untrustworthy person. They were shocked, and I could see the wheels turning in their minds. With their help, I crafted a plan to spread the word. I began by posting on local community forums, warning people about the potential unprofessionalism of seeking Rick's services. I painted him as someone who, while charming on the surface, couldn't be trusted, especially given the rumors swirling about his personal life. The posts were subtle but effective, leading to increased chatter among dog owners in the area. Meanwhile, I gathered evidence of Jenna's affair. I installed an app on her phone that allowed me to track her messages and calls. I felt slightly guilty invading her privacy, but I justified it by reminding myself that she had shattered my trust first. I wanted to know exactly what was going on between her and Rick, and the app provided me with a stream of information that fueled my anger. Every evening I'd sit with my laptop, reading texts that were filled with endearments and hidden plans. It was infuriating, but it also gave me resolve. I was no longer just a heartbroken husband. I was a man with a mission. The deeper I got into this pursuit of revenge, the more I felt like I was taking back control, reclaiming the power that Jenna had stripped away from me. One evening, while I was going through the messages, I stumbled upon something that made my blood boil. Jenna had made plans to meet Rick at a local dog park, our dog park, the one we had adopted our golden retriever Max from. The thought of her frolicking with Rick in the same space that we used to share together sickened me. I decided I'd confront them, not just to get closure but to disrupt their little rendezvous. I waited until the day of their meeting, methodically plotting it out in my mind. I arrived at the dog park just before their scheduled time and hid myself behind a cluster of trees, watching and waiting. When Jenna arrived with Max, my heart raced. She looked radiant. Her laughter echoed through the park as she threw a ball for him. Moments later, Rick showed up, and I could see the chemistry between them as they chatted animatedly. They were lost in their little world, and the sight sent a jolt of rage through me. I had to intervene. As Jenna bent down to pet Max, I marched out from behind the trees, my heart pounding. "Mind if I join you?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. Jenna's smile faltered as she looked up, shock washing over her face. "Kyle, what are you doing here?" she stammered. Rick's demeanor shifted too. He straightened up, casting an uneasy glance between Jenna and me. "Hey, man. I didn't know you were coming," he said, trying to play it cool. I could feel the tension in the air, thick like fog. "Oh, I just thought I'd come see how my wife is doing with her friend," I shot back, the sarcasm dripping from my voice. Jenna's eyes widened in panic, and I could see her scramble for words. "Kyle, please, this is not what it looks like. We were just what? Playing fetch?" I interrupted, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You think I don't know what's going on? You've been lying to me this whole time." Rick shifted. uncomfortably, and I could see the color drain from his face. "Jenna, maybe we should talk about this," he said cautiously, his bravado fading. "No, this is between us," I snapped, my focus solely on Jenna. "I trusted you and you betrayed me in the worst way possible. This isn't just a fling, you've destroyed everything we built together." Her facade began to crack. "Kyle, I made a mistake. I was confused, okay? This doesn't mean I don't love you." "Love," I shot back. "You call this love? I don't know what you think you feel for him, but it's not love. Love doesn't come with secrets and lies." The park felt like it was closing in on us, and I could see people beginning to stare. I had no intention of letting this play out in front of an audience, so I took a deep breath and turned to Rick. "You think you can just swoop in and take what's mine? I'm going to make sure you pay for this." His eyes widened with fear, and I could see the realization dawning on him. "I didn't mean for this to happen, man. I thought she was single." "Don't play innocent with me," I said, my voice low and threatening. "You know exactly what you've done." With that, I turned back to Jenna, whose eyes were now glistening with tears. "I want you to think long and hard about what you've done. This isn't just about Rick, it's about us. You've thrown everything away." As I walked away, I could feel their stares piercing my back, but I didn't care. I was fueled by a mix of anger and heartbreak, and I knew this was just the beginning of my plan to take back what was mine. The thrill of revenge coursed through me, replacing the pain that had once consumed me. I was ready to turn this nightmare into my own twisted form of justice. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. After that explosive confrontation at the dog park, I felt a strange mixture of triumph and despair. Part of me relished the fact that I had confronted Jenna and Rick, throwing their dirty little secret into the open, while the other part of me was still grappling with the enormity of what had just happened. I had laid bare the betrayal, and while I felt a sense of power momentarily, it didn't erase the pain that lingered in my chest. In the days that followed, I put my revenge plan into overdrive. I had already started damaging Rick's reputation in the dog training community, but I knew I could escalate it further. I began leveraging social media in a way I had never imagined I would. I created a series of anonymous posts detailing not only my suspicions, but also the affair itself. I shared the story of how someone who was supposedly a professional in the dog training world had crossed lines that should never be crossed. To my surprise, my posts gained traction. People started commenting and sharing their own experiences with Rick. Some claimed they had sensed something off about him. Others revealed how they had felt uncomfortable with his overly familiar behavior toward their pets and children. It was like a dam had broken, and the flood of negative reviews began to drown Rick's business. Jenna was oblivious to my actions at first. She continued to act as if everything was normal, hoping to smooth things over. She would come home and ask about my day, and I would throw her casual, vague answers. Inside, I was burning with fury and hurt, but I maintained my composure. I knew that I was orchestrating a storm that would soon engulf her. One night, she decided to confront me again. She sat me down and looked me in the eye with a seriousness that I hadn't seen since our argument. "Kyle, we need to talk about what happened at the park," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I don't want to lose you." I raised an eyebrow, feigning indifference. "You think you can just say that after everything? After choosing to betray me with Rick? Please, I know I messed up," she pleaded. "I thought it was just a fling, something fun to escape our boring routine, but I realize now how stupid that was. Boring." The bitterness in my voice was palpable. "You think our life was boring? This is what you did when you got bored." I could see the shame wash over her, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't interested in her apologies or excuses anymore. I had to focus. "Jenna, I want you to understand that what you did to me is unforgivable. I'm not sure I can ever come back from this." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I almost faltered. Almost. "Kyle, please, I love you. I know I can make it right. Just give me a chance." I shook my head. "You've already made your choice, and your chance has consequences." The conversation ended unceremoniously, with Jenna retreating to our bedroom in tears. I felt a pang of remorse creeping in, but I quickly shoved it away. I had to stay the course. My revenge was about more than just hurting Jenna. It was about reclaiming myself and ensuring that Rick faced the consequences of his actions. As the days rolled into weeks, Rick's business began to crumble. His reputation was in tatters, and I had played a significant part in that. I could see the tension growing between Jenna and me. While she was trying to salvage what was left of our relationship, I was focused on the fallout of her affair. I would hear her on the phone, talking to friends about how difficult things had become. I could hear the worry in her voice, and I reveled in it. One evening, while I was doing online research, I stumbled upon an article about dog training businesses and the importance of customer loyalty. It hit me. I could put an even deeper nail in Rick's coffin. I reached out to a few local media outlets and pitched a story about the sudden decline of dog training businesses due to a lack of trust. I provided them with my evidence of Rick's affair, painting him as a cautionary tale of how personal actions can destroy professional reputations. To my shock, the story took off. Local news stations picked it up, and soon after, Rick was featured in interviews discussing the decline of his business. He tried to defend himself, but the damage had been done. People began to associate him with scandal rather than professionalism. I felt a sick sense of satisfaction watching him squirm under the pressure, knowing that I had orchestrated his downfall. But that satisfaction came with a price. Jenna started to feel the effects of my revenge, and I could see the weariness in her eyes. She was losing her friends, her support system, and her connection to the life we had once shared. Part of me knew I was being cruel, but I couldn't help it. I was in too deep. I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. One evening, Jenna came to me, visibly shaken. "Kyle, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be the reason for Rick's downfall, and I don't want to keep hurting you. You need to let this go." But I couldn't. The anger, the betrayal, it was too fresh. "You want me to just forget?" I said bitterly. "You're the one who brought this on yourself. Please, try to see it from my perspective. I messed up, but you're punishing yourself too. You're losing yourself in this vendetta," she implored, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was true. I was losing myself. The anger that had fueled my actions was starting to consume me, and as I looked at Jenna, I could see that what I had intended as revenge was morphing into a cycle of pain that would end up hurting us both. In that moment, I realized I was swinging back and forth between vindication and remorse. I had to decide whether to continue on this path or to reflect on what I really wanted. Revenge felt sweet in the moment, but at what cost? As I stared into her teary eyes, I felt a flicker of doubt. Was this really what I wanted? I had sought to empty her life, but in doing so, I was risking my own happiness. I needed to think carefully about how to proceed. I didn't want to be the villain in my own story. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. After that night, I found myself at a crossroads. I had woven a web of revenge that, while initially satisfying, was now starting to entangle me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Jenna's tears haunted me as I replayed our conversation in my mind, and I realized that I had lost sight of what I had initially wanted. I had set out to reclaim my dignity, but instead, I was tearing apart the fabric of what remained of our relationship. In the days that followed, things grew increasingly tense. Jenna was trying her best to be the understanding partner, but I could see the emotional toll this was taking on her. She had distanced herself from Rick and was desperate to win me back, but my heart felt hardened. I had become so consumed by the desire for revenge that I was neglecting the pain I was inflicting upon both of us. One evening, I came home from work to find Jenna sitting on the couch, her hands anxiously wringing together. She looked up at me, her face pale. "Kyle, can we talk? I really want to understand where we go from here." "Where we go from here?" I echoed, crossing my arms. "You mean I'm supposed to just forgive and forget after everything?" I know," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "But we can work through this. I want to make amends. I've even started looking for a therapist for us." I scoffed at the suggestion. "A therapist? You think talking about our problems is going to fix this?" "It's worth a shot," she insisted. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but you have to meet me halfway. What's going on with you is tearing us apart." I paused, feeling a flicker of something inside me. Was I really willing to keep going down this path of destruction? I could see Jenna desperately trying to hold on to our marriage, while I was fueling a fire of revenge that only seemed to burn brighter. "Jenna, I've been thinking. I replied slowly, my voice low. I've hurt you through this. You're not the only one suffering here. She looked up, her eyes wide with hope. You mean it? You're starting to see how damaging this cycle is. I don't know if I can forgive you right now, I admitted. But I understand that I'm becoming someone I don't want to be. I've lost sight of what matters. Jenna took a tentative step toward me, her expression softening. I'm so sorry for what I did, Kyle. I never meant to hurt you. I was just lost. I was lost too, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought revenge was going to make me feel better, but it hasn't. It's just made things worse. In that moment, I realized that the cycle of pain wasn't going to end by tearing apart Rick's life. It would only continue to fester and poison my own. The weight of my actions began to settle on my shoulders, and I understood that I had to let go of the desire for revenge, if not for Jenna's sake, then for my own. I'll agree to counseling, I said slowly, testing the waters. But I need you to understand that trust has to be rebuilt. I can't just flip a switch and act like everything is fine. I promise I will do whatever it takes, she said earnestly. I know I've shattered your trust, and I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, but I want to fight for us. I want to earn back your trust. The sincerity in her voice struck a chord within me. I took a deep breath, feeling the heaviness of my heart start to lift just a little. It wouldn't be easy, and I still had a long way to go, but I felt like I had taken the first step in a new direction. Over the next few weeks, we began attending couples therapy. It was awkward at first, sitting in a room with a stranger, dissecting our pain and betrayal, but I could feel the layers of resentment and anger starting to peel away. The therapist guided us to communicate openly, addressing our fears and insecurities. One session, as we shared our feelings, Jenna broke down. I didn't just cheat because I was bored. I was scared that we were drifting apart, and I didn't know how to reach out to you. I thought I could find a connection elsewhere. It was heartbreaking to hear her vulnerability, and I found myself softening. I realized that while her actions were unforgivable, they stemmed from a place of fear and confusion. We had both neglected our relationship, and it took this crisis to force us to confront the flaws that had been simmering beneath the surface. I began to open up about my own feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. I thought I was doing everything right, providing for us, making sure you were happy. But I didn't realize I was neglecting the emotional connection we had. I was afraid to rock the boat, and that led to this. As we navigated this painful journey together, I started to acknowledge my own need for emotional intimacy. It became clear that we both had to work hard to rebuild our relationship, but I felt a newfound sense of hope. Maybe we could emerge from this stronger than before. However, as much as I wanted to put the past behind us, the specter of Rick still loomed large. I had to make a decision regarding him. While I had initially wanted to destroy his life, I now understood that engaging in that battle wouldn't serve me any longer. One day, I decided to confront my feelings about him once and for all. I called Jenna and told her I needed to meet with Rick. I need to face him, I explained. Not to fight, but to put this to rest. Are you sure? She asked, concern etched on her face. What if it turns into a confrontation? I don't know, I admitted. But I can't keep running away from it. If we're going to make this work, I need to take control of my emotions. This is part of the healing. So, I arranged to meet Rick at a nearby coffee shop. My heart raced as I walked in, scanning the room until I found him sitting at a corner table. He looked up, and I could see the hesitation in his eyes as I approached. Rick, I said, my voice steady, we need to talk. He swallowed hard, clearly taken aback. Kyle, I didn't expect you to reach out. I'm not here to fight, I said, surprising even myself. I just want to clear the air. I need to know that you understand the consequences of your actions. I do, he replied, looking genuinely remorseful. I never wanted to hurt you or your marriage. I thought it was just a fling, but I see now how wrong I was. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief. I know this won't change anything, but I need to move on. I'm working on my marriage, and I don't want any more drama between us. Just stay away from Jenna. Understood, he said earnestly. I never meant to cross that line. I wish you both the best. As I left the coffee shop, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had confronted my demons, and it felt liberating. I was finally letting go of the bitterness that had consumed me. Returning home, I found Jenna waiting for me, anxious yet hopeful. "How did it go?" she asked, eyes wide. "I think we both understand where we went wrong," I replied. "I feel like I can finally start to move on." Tears of relief filled her eyes and I wrapped my arms around her. "I know this won't be easy, but I want to continue working on us together." As we embraced, I felt a glimmer of hope start to ignite within me. Healing would take time, but for the first time in a long while, I believed that we could genuinely rebuild our relationship. And while it wouldn't erase the pain, we could start anew, learning from our past mistakes. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. As Jenna and I continued our journey through therapy, I found a renewed sense of purpose. It was no longer about revenge or bitterness. It was about healing and rebuilding a better future together. Each session opened up more dialogue between us, and I started to understand the depths of Jenna's insecurities and fears. For the first time, we were actually talking, deeply and honestly. One evening after a particularly revealing session, we sat on the couch together, both feeling emotionally drained but lighter than we had in weeks. The air felt different. It was infused with a sense of understanding. "I can't believe we've come this far," Jenna said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I was afraid we'd never get back here." "Me too," I admitted, running a hand through my hair. "But I think we're starting to learn how to communicate better. I didn't realize how much I was bottling up." Jenna looked at me, her eyes glistening with sincerity. "And I didn't see how my actions affected you. I thought I was escaping boredom, but I just lost sight of what we had." In that moment, we made a pact, a commitment to be transparent with one another, to share our feelings before they festered into something more destructive. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Maybe we had a chance at rebuilding what we once had. As the weeks rolled on, I was surprised at how much I began to enjoy our time together again. We started to engage in activities we had once loved, cooking together, playing with Max at the park without feeling the heaviness of betrayal hanging over us. I even found myself laughing again, something I hadn't done in what felt like forever. It was as if we were rediscovering each other piece by piece. However, there was a lingering shadow from the past that I couldn't entirely shake off. Rick was still out there, and while I had confronted him, I wasn't sure if he would truly stay away. I worried about Jenna's emotional ties to him, despite her reassurances. One day, I decided to casually bring it up. "How do you feel about him now?" I asked during dinner, trying to keep my tone neutral. She hesitated before responding, looking down at her plate. "I regret ever getting involved with him. It was a huge mistake. And it's not something I want to revisit. I'm focused on us." Her earnestness reassured me, but there was still a nagging voice in the back of my mind. I realized I had to be proactive to fully extinguish that fear. "What if we made a pact to let go of our pasts completely?" I suggested, catching her off guard. "I mean, no more contact with anyone from before, friends, exes, or anything that could tempt us back into that space." Jenna's eyes lit up and she nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely, I agree. It's time to cut ties for good. We need to fully commit to moving forward." In that moment, I found clarity. It was time to take control of our narrative and leave the past behind. We spent that evening discussing the people and influences we felt needed to be removed from our lives for the sake of our marriage. In the following weeks, Jenna unfriended several acquaintances on social media that had been connected to Rick, and I reached out to my own circle, explaining the situation and asking for their support. It was liberating, knowing we were both making conscious choices to prioritize our relationship above all else. The turning point came when we celebrated our anniversary. It had always been a special occasion for us, but this year felt different. We decided to skip the usual dinner out and create a romantic evening at home instead. I cooked Jenna's favorite meal, and we lit candles around the dining room, transforming our ordinary space into something magical. After dinner, we opened a bottle of wine and toasted to new beginnings. "To us," I said, raising my glass, "to our future together." Jenna smiled, her eyes sparkling, "and to learning how to love each other better every day." As we moved to the couch, I could feel the warmth between us. We talked late into the night, sharing our hopes and dreams for the future, playing games, and reminiscing about the good times that had been overshadowed by our recent turmoil. It felt like we were forging a new chapter in our lives, one where we had emerged from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more connected than ever. But the following morning, while I was in the kitchen brewing coffee, the phone rang. When I saw Jenna's phone light up with Rick's name flashing across the screen, my stomach dropped. A surge of anxiety gripped me and my heart raced. "Jenna, it's Rick." I called out, trying to keep my voice steady, but I could feel the tension coursing through my veins. She rushed in, her eyes wide. "What? Why is he calling?" "I don't know, but do you want to answer?" She hesitated, clearly torn. After a moment, Jenna grabbed the phone, glancing at the caller ID again. "I can't believe he's reaching out. I thought I'd made it clear to him." "Maybe it's best to ignore it," I suggested, trying to keep my voice even. "You don't owe him anything." Jenna frowned, her brow furrowed in confusion. "But what if it's important?" My chest tightened. What could possibly be important enough to warrant a call? "He's moved on, remember. You've made it very clear you want nothing to do with him." She took a deep breath, visibly torn. "You're right, I don't want to go back into that mess." As I watched her make the decision to ignore the call, a sense of relief washed over me. We were choosing our future together, one where Rick had no place, but just as I started to relax, she turned to me, her expression shifting. "Do you think he'll keep trying?" "Honestly," I replied, my heart racing again, "I don't know. But you don't have to engage with him. We're focusing on us now." Jenna nodded, but I could see the worry etched on her face. I knew that this was a pivotal moment for us. We had made progress, but the past was still lurking, ready to rear its head at the slightest sign of weakness. "Let's go for a walk," I suggested, sensing she needed distraction. "Just the two of us. We can talk about this openly." As we stepped out into the fresh air, I felt the warmth of the sun on my face and the weight of our struggles start to lift, if only for a moment. I wanted to reassure Jenna that we were going to be okay, and that together, we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. While Rick's call continued to loom over us, it was a reminder that we had the strength to overcome the lingering shadows of betrayal. This was our chance to rewrite our love story, one where we could emerge even stronger than before. Let me know when you're ready for the final part. As Jenna and I walked through the nearby park, the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant laughter of children provided a serene backdrop to our troubled minds. The morning sun cast a warm glow, but the shadow of Rick's call still lingered between us, a silent reminder of the tumultuous road we were navigating. "I hate that he called," Jenna admitted, breaking the silence. "It feels like a reminder of my mistakes, and I don't want to go there again." I nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "It's natural to feel that way, but remember, we've come so far. We're in control of our narrative now. Rick is just a chapter we're closing." "Yeah, but what if he tries to reach out again?" "I can't handle that," she said, her voice tinged with anxiety. "Then we'll handle it together," I said firmly. "We need to be each other's support system. If he calls again, let's decide together how to respond. But right now, he doesn't get to dictate how we feel or what we do." Jenna smiled softly, though uncertainty still flickered in her eyes. "I appreciate you saying that. I'm trying to trust you and myself again." As we strolled along the path, we talked about our plans for the future, things we wanted to do together, places we wanted to visit, and the life we wanted to build. It felt liberating to dream out loud again, to envision a shared destiny beyond the pain of the past. But as the days turned to weeks, the ghost of Rick kept haunting the edges of our discussions. I could tell it was wearing on Jenna, and I worried it might pull us back into a darkness we had worked so hard to escape. One night, as we curled up on the couch watching a movie, Jenna turned to me with a serious expression. "Kyle, can we talk about Rick again?" I felt my stomach twist. "Sure," I replied cautiously. "I can't stop thinking about how he might reach out again, and I want to be prepared," she said, her voice trembling. "What if he tries to manipulate me into talking?" I could see how deeply this was affecting her. I took her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "First, let's set some boundaries. If he contacts you, don't feel obligated to respond. You have every right to ignore him. Your priority is us." "I want to block him," she said suddenly, determination in her voice. I need to sever that connection completely. That's a great idea. I agreed, feeling a surge of pride for her resolve. Let's do it together. We can block him on social media and your phone. It'll be a fresh start. With a newfound sense of purpose, we took out her phone and together blocked Rick's number, unfollowed him on social media, and deleted any remnants of his existence from our digital lives. It felt cathartic, a tangible step toward reclaiming our narrative. In the weeks that followed, I noticed a shift in Jenna. She seemed lighter, more at ease, as if shedding the weight of Rick's influence had allowed her to breathe again. Our therapy sessions continued, and we became more adept at communicating our needs and fears. One day, Jenna surprised me with an idea. What if we took a weekend trip, just the two of us, somewhere we can reconnect? I loved the thought. That sounds incredible. Where do you want to go? She suggested a quaint cabin in the mountains, a place we had visited early in our relationship. I could already envision the cozy nights by the fireplace, the hikes through nature, and the quiet moments where we could reconnect without distractions. We booked the trip, and as the weekend approached, excitement bubbled within me. It felt like a turning point, a chance to solidify the progress we had made and to truly embrace our new beginning. When we arrived at the cabin, it felt like we had stepped into a storybook. Surrounded by towering trees and the soft sound of a nearby creek, the world outside melted away. We spent our days hiking and exploring, our nights filled with deep conversations and laughter, as if rediscovering the magic that had once brought us together. On the last night, we sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, sipping hot cocoa as the stars twinkled above us. Jenna turned to me, her expression serious yet hopeful. I've been thinking about everything we've been through, and I want you to know how grateful I am for your support. I know I hurt you deeply, but I'm committed to making this work. I reached for her hand, feeling a sense of warmth flood through me. And I'm grateful for your willingness to fight for us, Jenna. It hasn't been easy, but I see the effort you're putting in and I appreciate it. She leaned her head on my shoulder and I felt the tension slowly dissipate. I love you, Kale. I want to build a life together, one without shadows from the past. I love you too, I replied, my heart swelling. We'll make it through this together. In that moment, as the night wrapped around us, I realized how far we had come. While the scars of betrayal would always be part of our story, we were no longer defined by them. We were choosing to move forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. As we gazed up at the stars, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We had survived the storm, and now we were entering a new chapter, one where trust, love, and resilience would guide us. And in that beautiful, quiet moment, I knew that we had truly reclaimed our lives, our love, and our future together. This is the end of the story.